It's 2014, but federal law still doesn't prohibit discrimination against LGBT people in housing, employment, or public accommodations. As a result, state and local governments across the country have started enacting their own anti-LGBT discrimination laws. In the past year alone, cities like San Antonio, Atlantic Beach, Fayetteville, and Houston have all enacted ordinances banning discrimination against gay, bisexual, and transgender people. And each time, conservatives have made the same bogus arguments against protecting LGBT people from discrimination. Here now are the 5 most popular myths about LGBT non-discrimination laws debunked. Myth number 1. LGBT people aren't actually discriminated against anymore.
Discrimination has not been shown, and the need for this ordinance has not been proven.
Fundamentally, we think it's unnecessary. There's no emergency, as such as the mayor claims, of any discrimination.
We work harmoniously with each other. We have not had any specific instances of why this is a problem.
Another version of this argument is that the free market discourages discrimination against gay people. It's a nice story, but it's a lie. Studies have found that nearly half of all LGBT people will experience some form of employment discrimination in their lifetime. A recent study by the Department of Housing and Urban Development found widespread discrimination against same-sex couples in housing. And the situation is even worse for the transgender community, which faces astronomical rates of discrimination and harassment. Myth number 2. Non-discrimination laws create special rights for LGBT people.
They want special rights, but in doing so, they stifle the rights of Christians.
They don't have to prove that if they evicted or fired me that I was a heterosexual white male. They don't have to do any of that. So this is special rights.
The Employment Non-Discrimination Act. This is not about, as they couch it, equal rights. It's about special rights.
No, it's not. Non-discrimination laws typically just give LGBT people the same protections that already exist for other marginalized groups like African Americans, women, and people with disabilities. In cities like San Antonio and Fayetteville, for example, the city government just added the phrases sexual orientation and gender identity to the existing list of groups protected by the city's non-discrimination law. These special rights are identical to the protections that already are offered for race, sex, and religion in federal law. Myth number 3. Non-discrimination laws infringe on the religious liberty of Christians.
A new non-discrimination ordinance in San Antonio, Texas could be used to discriminate against Christians.
This is a broader anti-religion effort.
It legalizes discrimination against Christians.
So does this wind up being a case of reverse discrimination potentially?
Gross and wrong. Non-discrimination laws historically include exemptions for religious organizations like churches. No church in America has ever been forced to serve or hire LGBT people, and they never will be. The First Amendment protects anti-LGBT speech and beliefs, and federal law already prohibits discrimination on the basis of religion. Non-discrimination laws are concerned with actions, not just beliefs. So believing gay people are going to hell, allowed. Kicking gay customers out of a restaurant for being gay, not allowed. Believing gay people are worse than alcoholics, allowed. Firing a lesbian employee just for being gay, not allowed. Believing transgender people are abominations, allowed. Denying access to a trans person at a publicly funded homeless shelter, not allowed. Myth number 4. Non-discrimination laws will trigger a wave of frivolous lawsuits.
CAP's communication director Arent says the broadly written ordinance would also result in frivolous lawsuits.
He says the law could leave businesses open to frivolous lawsuits.
If someone comes into their business and says, "Oh, you're making me feel unwelcome," I'm going to bring a lawsuit against you.
Taken to its extreme, this is an argument for getting rid of all non-discrimination laws, not just ones to protect gay people. People file false lawsuits about race and sex all the time. But you don't legalize discrimination because you're afraid of a few bogus lawsuits, right? Right? More importantly, a 2011 study found that LGBT employment discrimination complaints are historically filed at the same rate as race and sex discrimination complaints, roughly 4 complaints per 10,000 employees. A 2014 study echoed those findings, concluding that, quote, the rate at which LGBT people file complaints under these laws is similar to the rate at which women and people of color file complaints under sex and race non-discrimination laws. Myth 5, and maybe the worst of all, non-discrimination laws let sexual predators sneak into women's restrooms.
But the element that has the ordinance in trouble is the bathroom clause, allowing anyone to use any bathroom.
Our spouses and children may be exposed to potential sexual predators, disguising themselves as transgenders.
If a man decides that he's a woman, he can follow, your young girl, your wife, into the woman's restroom.
This is one of the oldest and most popular attacks against LGBT non-discrimination laws. It's scary, it's about kids, and it's really good at getting people to vote against LGBT equality. But it's never, ever been true. Law enforcement officials, human rights workers, and sexual assault victims advocates have dismissed this argument as, quote, beyond specious. In states and cities where non-discrimination laws have been in place for years, experts have found no evidence linking these laws to sexual assault or misconduct in public restrooms. It just doesn't happen. These myths are all meant to scare people into voting against basic legal protections for their LGBT neighbors. And it's important that media outlets put horror stories like this into context. They're nothing new, they're trotted out every time there's a debate about non-discrimination laws, and they never ever come true.